We have many market analysts riding on the recent upturn in corporate earnings and the expected improvement in economic growth to drum up investor appetite in equities moving forward. What are your expectations? Because as I was highlighting earlier, this is in a context where political uncertainty is still rife.
I think even though we might have politics coming into play, there's a sense that Kenya will overcome this. It's not really a crisis situation. I think debate is very, very welcome in Kenya, and you know, there's always quite a bit of activity on the political front at any time in Kenya. But I think investors are taking it on their stride. The market has already come up quite significantly this year. I think it's up about 33% year to date. So already, even if we see some profit taking, the market has already come up substantially. But the market is awash with liquidity, and we are seeing that finding its way through the bourse. You know, the debt market is actually, the yields have actually come down quite substantially, and so investors are really looking at the equities for growth.
So how are you playing the game at the moment, and what ranks as a stock pick for you?
I mean, obviously, you have to look at the counters which haven't rallied that much. And I guess, you know, counters like KenolKobil, it's up close to 50, actually close to 100% year to date. But still, there appears to be room there to rally further. The agricultural stocks have also done well, but, you know, there's still some room there as well. And as well as the traditional banks. I mean, if you look at the banking sector in general, this year it's likely to be a record year for them. They're being asked to lend a lot more into the economy. They're able to come into the market and raise funds, substantial funds from the market, because the market is awash with liquidity. So with banks recapitalizing, we are going to see, with the economy picking up, I think we are going to see good profitability from the sector.
Well, we know that East African breweries has been a firm favorite amongst locals and foreigners alike. But with the recently announced budget, we've seen a rise in sin tax, and that heightening the risk of reduced sales for brewers, with beer prices expected to rise now moving forward. Brewers are trying to get, you know, the Treasury to actually review the pricing. East African Breweries, for one, has certainly made its intention of petitioning Treasury to back down on those proposals known. What do you make of the move, and do you see East African Brewery getting things to swing their way?
I think for this month, probably we won't have their sales coming off, because with the World Cup, you know, there's a lot of activity in the pubs. But going forward, I think there's obviously a concern, especially there was an alcoholic controls bill, which basically would have legalized traditional brews. And, you know, if you combine that with an increase in taxes with formal beer, that makes it very tough for players like East African breweries, unless they're really able to tap the very low segment of the market. Nevertheless, we are seeing new products coming in, and, you know, East African breweries should hold up well, you know, especially in the second half. You know, the full year results are just about to be announced, so they should hold up well, but obviously forward it's a bit of a concern.
Yep, so certainly work to be done in terms of maintaining that kind of bottom line that we've gotten used to out of East African Brewery, also considering that it is an industry that faces the high cost of production. Just looking at another company that stood in the spotlight, it's been Scan Group, yesterday rallying a further 1.4% and closing at a new lifetime closing high of 37 shillings. Let's take a look at that, because now we've certainly got investors not too perturbed about the JV with Ogilvy not going through, and we've also heard speculation that they just may well have bagged the Bharti account.
Yeah, I mean, Scan Group is very uniquely positioned. It's probably the only listed marketing services company in Africa, and WPP has a strategic stake in it. And from the strategy of WPP, it actually intends to use Scan Group for its agency in Africa. And, you know, given the position of Scan Group, it has quite a bit of capital, and, you know, really it can expand across the continent with good ease. So that makes it very attractive, even though it might look a little bit expensive, but there is very thin liquidity on the stock, and the demand is very high, and it's very tightly held. And so we're seeing any good news really pushing the stock higher, and we think it's going to hold despite those valuations, but obviously one has to be a little bit cautious as to the entry price, but otherwise it's a good story.